Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Be Mindful podcast. We're here today with Olympic world champion boxer, Miss Natasha Jonas. Over to you, Natasha.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
So, we've got you here today because we've been doing an exciting project and it's called We Are Champions. Do you want to tell everyone a little bit about what We Are Champions is?
Yeah, We Are Champions is a programme, a 12 weeks, I think, programme aimed at raising aspirations and giving young people setting a target and doing everything they can to achieve that target, no matter how big or small. Because I believe, life is about goal setting and, goal setting is really important in you being successful and knowing that you can achieve stuff when you set your mind to it.
So we're doing the project, aren't we? And we're rolling it out in some of the schools. So we're doing it in mainstream. We're looking at some of the SEMH schools, the SEND provisions, but we're also looking at putting the project out there for places like education other than at school. So for anybody that's listening, that's the EOTAS type of projects. So
Lots of acronyms that I don't know there.
I know. So that's why I thought I'd just explain it. And it's about schooling and supporting the youth of today, but thinking outside of the classroom. Now, I know a little bit about you from when we've met a couple of times, and when you've spoke to me about your school days, you've told me that sport was something that you were really good at, but in the classroom, how was that for you in the lessons?
I I didn't really notice a difference until I went to senior school. So where I went to primary school was in Liverpool in Toxteth, where I was born and where I grew up. And, the demographics and the people that live in Toxteth are a lot different to where I went to senior school, which was over the water in the Wirral. And, you know, education weren't really that highly thought of. And it was a school in a poor deprived area, primary school in a poor deprived area, with not the best facilities, with not the best outlook on who you could be and what you could achieve. Or at least that's how I felt as a kid growing up there.
So, what did you want to be at primary school, do you think? Can you remember?
Yeah, I think I've always loved sports. It's the only thing that, one, I believed I was good at, and two, that I ever got praised for.
Okay.
So then it goes to senior school, and like I say, totally different area to the Toxteth, and it was quite affluent. It's in Wallasey and Wirral, and the first thing that I noticed when I went to the school, and it sounds silly, but that nobody looked like me, whereas in Toxteth they did. Everyone was brown like me. Everyone was poor like me. Everyone, was wearing hand-me-downs like me. And then when I went to senior school in the Wirral, it was predominantly in a white senior school, and I was one of two people in the whole school that was brown.
Wow.
Then we started doing work on the first day. You're getting your timetable, you're getting your sets, and you're going in your classes. And sorry, it wasn't the first day, it was the first week. And the teachers are trying to work out which class and which set to put you in. And we're doing these basic tests, reading and stuff, and everyone could do the work, and I couldn't. I really, really struggled, and that just set the tone of senior school for me.
Okay.
I quickly realised that I was very far behind everybody else, and because I was embarrassed by that. And I'm in a new place with new people, trying to impress, trying to fit in.
Yeah.
That I thought, right, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be the one that makes people laugh. I'm going to be the jokester. I'm going to get sent out the class because I definitely don't want to be in here for all my friends to know that I can't do the work.
Did you ever get bullied at school?
I was definitely not bullied. I think the type of person I exude is confident.
Yeah.
Even though, like I said, deep inside,
So you masked.
I masked it so bad. I masked it by being funny and by being this extrovert, but really inside I was shy, timid, and I didn't want anyone to know that I couldn't do it.
So the benefits of masking and doing all those things, what did you gain from that? So was it friendships or like respect from your peers?
It was friendship, it was respect, and it was false confidence for myself. I was already playing a role.
Yeah.
So as long as I stuck to that role, then it didn't really matter.
How did that affect you in class, in learning? And did that give you the get out of jail free card, I suppose, of getting out of the lesson and doing the work? Did it?
Like sometimes, sometimes it did, because in the classes that I struggled, I would just do anything to get sent out. So I would be the class clown and I would mess around, and the teacher would tell me to do something, I'd be like, no. And that obviously would open the doorway of just getting sent out the lesson, which was fine to me because I didn't want to be there anyway. And there was some lessons that I liked. Like there was like English, even though I wasn't the greatest reader, I loved English. But the reason I loved English was that I couldn't be wrong. So as long as I could explain why I was right and why I felt that way, then I could be right. But stuff like maths, where there's a right and a wrong answer, then I hated that. Or history, where there's a date and a not a date, then I hated that because they're so black and white. Whereas English, there was a bit more grey, as long as you could explain it. So I was developed like a really good thing in English because I could talk myself. I could talk myself right.
Did anyone sit down with you and say, Natasha, notice that you've got so much potential, but you're spending half your life outside the classroom?
There was one teacher, and believe it or not, it was my PE teacher. So we, like, I think in year 9, it was year 9 or 10, we got this new teacher. And I was in year 7, 8. I was the person that did the warm up, did the cool down, set up fair teams, helped people that weren't as able as me. I was that person because, like I said, in PE, that was my time to shine. But when this new teacher came, so I did all that. I was in every single team that the school offered. Even if I'd never did the sport before, I'd always just put my name forward because I wanted to do it. I wanted to, like, that's where I thought I could grow, and that's what I had my eyes on being the best at everything in PE. So when this new teacher came, she'd obviously heard about my reputation outside of school, but she realised in PE that I wasn't that kid. And she said, so when we're doing all the teams and stuff, she started taking control of a lesson, which the teachers should. And she was like, no, I do the warm up. And I was like, no, miss, you don't get it. I do the warm up. She's like, no, I do it. So we had like we already had friction. So then in the extracurricular, like after school clubs, she'd never choose me as the captain. And it used to, because I'd always been the captain, and that was something I prided myself on. Like, that was the one thing, like, all the other teachers, like, yeah, you've got your little badge that says captain. And I was like, I was made up with it. Because, like you say, in all the other lessons, I was sent out and stuff. But captain of this team, like, that was a badge of honour that I loved to wear. And she didn't give me it. And I was absolutely raging. So I plucked up the confidence this day to go and ask her why. And I was like, I'd gone there, like, with, like, in a little bit of a rage, saying, like, what, just because you do the warm up now, and just because you think you can choose the team, and you're like, who do you think you are? And she was like, do you know why I do that? Is because I can recognise that in PE, you are the person that'll give me 100%. I never have to worry about having 100% of your attention in PE. There's some kids that come with the little notes and want to skip every single session. You don't. You've never missed a PE session. You're always here on time. You're always, but outside of PE, all you're doing is like not listening, not you're getting sent out a lesson. You're on report right now for your behaviour, and that's not the kind of example I want my captain to set. And honestly, that hurt me more than any detention ever could.
Wow. And straight after that, did you modify and change your behaviour, do you think, or try to?
So I had a conversation with her, and I basically said, well, the reason that I do that is because I can't do it. I struggle with the work, and like she was the first person that I opened up about to it about, and from that, she was like, okay, right, we're going to work together. We're going to get this better, and she made an action plan with all the other teachers to give me like extra sessions hidden away from obviously all my mates and whatever. So because I still didn't want them to know. So she made like extra sessions to help me catch up, and eventually I did. So, but that was all down to her, and from that was a big turning point. If people talk about changing points in their life, that was definitely one of them.
Does she know the impact that she's had on your life?
She does now, because I tell that story, and because I go into a lot of schools, and I go back to my old school where she still works, and I've said that story. She recognised it, but at the time, I don't think she did. But still to this day, like I'm 14 at the time, maybe 14. I think I am at the time, and still to this day, I still see that teacher. She's changed school now. I go to that school and still give talks. She comes to every one of my boxing fights. We meet up every holidays, and some, like I say, I go to the schools that she's in to give talks and stuff. So like, I think she appreciates it now, and she understands like the effect that it had. And it was only one small thing, but it was massive to me.
And I think that's the point at the minute, isn't it? It's that in an education system at the minute, children's mental health is at rock bottom because the amount of teachers and teaching assistants that have the opportunity to look at those kids and think, I need to make a change for them, because if I did, look at where they could be. They don't have the time, they're really struggling with it, or the system doesn't allow it. So I think the idea of the programme, We Are Champions, is helping teaching staff with a framework of trying to help those kids that don't fit the sitting behind the desk for 8 hours a day. I think PE, I know for my own son, is maybe 2 hours a week. And I think sometimes it's not enough. And I think in terms of particularly working with kids that have a neurodivergent aspect to them, not necessarily a diagnosis of autism or ADHD, because there's so many young people with symptoms of it, but maybe not been assessed or diagnosed. They need another outlet, another way. And I think what I got from when you were talking then, that this teacher, this young lady, spent the time and could see that there was more to you and that you were putting the mask on. And when she removed the mask, underneath, you were there and you were willing to learn and wanting to change and wanting to grow and develop.
Yeah.
So many children, unfortunately, are going home feeling how you felt after a day in school with no inspirational teacher sometimes, and feeling like, I don't fit, I can't do this isn't for me. And 5 years is a long time to feel like that. So I know sort of with Be Mindful, we're trying to provide opportunities for some of these young people to succeed and feel good through the work that you're doing. Now, I know that at the end of some of the sessions that you provide, you come back in, you see the young people, don't you, and sort of talk to them about the project and how they've changed and what they've accomplished and the types of changes that they've been doing. Because I think you've been back to one of the schools at the minute, haven't you? What have the kids been doing and learning about?
Well, one of the good things from a boxing perspective is that one of the lads has actually taken up boxing and goes to the local boxing club and is now a regular, going every Monday, Wednesday, Friday to the sessions. And that's not what the programme's about. But it was great to see that from a boxer's perspective. But you're right, not every child learns the same and um, receives information a certain way. It's very structured and 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 formal in school, and that's not the best way of learning for me. And I understand that, some kids actually do like to learn like me and be active and be hands on and it's just like an alternative way of getting across the same message but in a different way.
I think what I really liked about what you've put together is the idea that you've put it back on the young person to say, what are your interests? What are your hobbies? What do you want to achieve? You set the goal, you set the target. So it's not about following a curriculum per se. The program is structured within the curriculum guidelines, but you've said, what do you want to achieve? What are you good at right now? Or what's a strength? Or what are you struggling with, but you want to make better? Then they set that challenge and they're challenging only themselves. They're not challenging each other within a class format, are they? They're doing it for themselves. And I think some of the feedback that we've had from the project has been that some kids have really come out of the shell. Teachers have realised some potentials that children had and weren't showing before.
Yeah.
That they've got to learn a little bit as well about the young people that are there in the classroom rather than it's just Natasha that's come in and said, yes, miss, I'm here for today. Actually, they're starting to put together that they've got this interest, they've got this hobby, they've got this strength. And teachers have said, you know what, I'm going to use that in the learning. When they're disruptive in classroom settings or when they're really struggling, I'm going to bring it back to the challenge that they've set themselves and that you've overcome this. So like the frustration with maths that you've had, let's think about how did you break down the task when you set the challenge with Natasha? How did you break it down? How did you overcome it? Now let's apply that to the maths lesson, the science
Yeah.
lesson, the whatever's going on.
Sport was my vehicle that showed me, probably taught me the things that school couldn't, and the same with this program. It's teaching you the tools that you need for the bigger aspect of the world, but just in a different way.
Yeah,
And I
definitely.
think that the kids really appreciate like the different approach.
I think what people don't know is your own struggles and battles with mental health. And I would even say mental illness, because I don't think people understand about mental health versus mental illness and what you've overcome to be here and be, is it the 2 times world champion, soon to have an MBE or go and meet the king. I think what people don't hear is the bits that have been really difficult, and sometimes people really struggle with that, seeing all the brilliant stuff that you do, but you're so open and honest that you're really good at sharing that it's not all glamorous, it's not all amazing. um Actually, I've had some really tough things happen to me, and I know that you've shared with me, like when you went to America and you were going to be a footballer, that you had got an injury and it sort of ended your dreams. But I guess, how did that affect you in terms of your mental health, well-being, but also I guess in terms of mental illness?
I think, like I say, sport was a big part, and that that opportunity to go to America still only happened because of that teacher.
Mm.
So when it came to the end of sixth form and everyone's deciding whether they're going to go to university or they're going to go and get a job or they're going to do an apprenticeship, I was like, well, I want to do sport, but like I wasn't in a professional team at the time. I wasn't in a paid professional team at the time. Um, but the biggest opportunities for women in football at the time was in America, and there was a lady called Mia Hamm, who was like the Ronaldo of women's football. So she was the first woman to get a £1 million sponsorship deal from Nike. And I watched the World Cup and I watched Mia Hamm and I thought, oh my God, I'm well better than her. If I can just get myself to America, then I'll have this £1 million. I'll be seen, like I'll have a house like they do on Cribs. I'll buy myself a Bentley. I had all this plan, but I had to get to America. So um, I called up a couple of universities with the help of the teacher, And he was saying, look, yeah, that's brilliant. Send us over a couple of videos of you playing football and whatever. And then there was one that was really interested. And they came back to me, said, right, okay, we've seen you play. We're going to come over and watch you play football. We're going to get some of our staff to come over. And I was like, okay, can you give us a date and a time and, you know, a match to come and watch? So they're like, yeah, come sort it out. And they came and watched that game of football. And I probably had one of the best games of football I've ever had in my life, obviously. And at the end, they were like, no, you'll be an asset to have. And, you know, we just need you to get a score on this SAT. So I was like, okay. Now the SAT is just like a standardized American test, maths and English. But every university has got a different score that you need to get in order to get into the university. And I think mine was like, I can't remember, 1600 or something, 14 or 1600 or something. And I kind of like went into that test thinking like, they've just told me how brilliant I was, as if I don't get that score, they're not going to let me in. And I took the test and I failed miserably by about 200 points.
Please tell me you studied for the test. Or you were too confident.
Yeah, I was a bit overconfident in like my football ability. I thought football is going to be, that's going to drive me through it. That's the thing that they want. It's not whether I'm good at English or maths. So then obviously I failed, and I spoke to them and they were like, look, that's not good enough. You won't be allowed in. You will be able to take the test again, and maybe join in our winter semester. But obviously you're going to have to get the score to go in. We can't let you in if you don't get the score. So I was like, okay. I went back to that same teacher. I was like, look, this is what's happened. Like, absolutely devastated. Need to get in. Need to do this. And she was like, okay, we'll get it. We'll get an action plan together. Got all teachers again in the English and maths department. It was probably my maths that was letting me down. And yeah, she got an action plan for all them, and we took the test again in a couple of months' time, and we passed, and we was able to go. So obviously, it's the first time anyone in my family's gone to university. So the whole family, we had a big massive party. Everyone's dead proud, and you know, I felt like I was like, you know, doing something good, and I was doing what I loved. So I goes there, supposed to be there for 4 years, like almost 2 years into it as a game of football. Bad tackle, intercrucial ligament is gone. Like, we're talking 20 odd years ago. So the recovery, it was like, I think it was 6 to 8 months of playing any sport for the recovery. Then it was like, after the operation, then it was like 8 months, a 6 to 8 months rehab, and then you'd have to slowly get yourself back in the team. So you're talking roughly between a year and a half and 2 years out of playing football at all. When you're at that level, it's too long and it's too much, and it's basically the end of your career, and I knew that. So because I didn't go to the university for the academic side, like, I was heartbroken standing at the sidelines cheering me mates on week in, week out, like, and I knew when I couldn't, knowing I couldn't play. So I made the tough decision to come home. So when I came home, you know, that family that was all there, like, you know, I'm telling me now I'm buying a house when I come back because I'm going to be this millionaire.
Yeah.
And when I came back, I was back in that same bedroom that I was in as a kid, like, with nothing, in a brace, a knee brace that I hadn't had taken off. I'd put on a lot of weight. I'd lost a load of friends because I didn't play sports anymore. And I felt like I let everyone down. I'm not getting over the fact that football's finished. Because, you know, as a kid, I played a lot of sports, and I was in everything.
Yeah.
And then as you get more serious in a sport, you have to eventually let the other ones drop, and you're focused on the one.
Another one.
So I put my heart and soul into becoming a professional player, and it was gone. And I didn't know how to pull myself back up from that. There was things going on outside of football and out in the family at the time as well that, like, was just a lot. And I was like, like I had to hit rock bottom, and I was like, what do I do now?
So
Had,
looking back at rock bottom for
yeah,
you, I know you're not a mental health professional, but if you looked back at you there and then in that room on your own with your knee brace on, what would you say had happened?
I was drinking. I wasn't a drinker at all. I was a trainer. I trained. Like
Yeah.
when people go through that little phase when they're younger, where you know, or definitely in my day, where people were drinking on like street corners and stuff and go in the park and whatever. I never did it because I had training the next day, and that's from very young. I was always had me eyes set on what I needed to do and the importance of certain things, and just drinking just wasn't important to me, but my training was, and I needed to be 100% for my training. So I was drinking a lot, more than ever. I'd become a little bit reclusive. I didn't want to be around people because I was ashamed that I wasn't this person, this professional athlete that I told them I was going to be. I had no money. I couldn't see any opportunities for me anywhere because I didn't really have the academic background to fall back on.
You'd
So
never thought of plan B, really, had you?
I just didn't have a plan B totally. So I'd gained a lot of weight, and outside I was smiling to everyone, but inside to myself I was crying.
Yeah. How did your family cope? What did they do to try and help you in that moment, or you pushed them away, you couldn't let them back in?
To be honest, I don't think they recognised it because I was smiling to everyone, even people now.
Yeah.
One of the first things that one of the first boxing names that I ever got called was the Smiling Assassin, because all I do is smile, even when I'm at my lowest or annoyed or happy or sad. I'll just smile because I realise what a smile. I've learned that a smile, how the effect of a smile has on everybody else, and everyone else will just presume you're happy, and they'll be happy because you're happy. So I just smile, and that's because I was doing that. I don't think anyone realised. They'd obviously realised that I was going out a lot more, but I think they thought, well, that's just normal. She's 20. Like that's what people do in their 20s. They go out, they drink,
Yeah.
but they didn't realise, well, that wasn't normal for Tasha because she never done that before. So I don't think they realised because I masked it really well. And then it's like, oh, why aren't you going out? Oh, I've just got stuff to do. They never asked, well, what are you doing? Because they just didn't.
Gosh. It sounds like quite a lonely time as well. Lonely in your head in terms of the thoughts that you've got of how am I going to get back out of this? Where am I going now? Sounds very much like it's over. That's it. It's done.
Yeah, I just couldn't see a way out of anywhere. So I was in like a deep, dark hole, and I couldn't. I was going for job interviews and getting jobs, and then
What type of job?
mostly like call centres and stuff, based around Liverpool. So in 1 year, I had 7 jobs. So I
Wow.
worked for MBNA, the bank, which was basically calling on off when people nosed. I worked for United Utilities on the water, answering in the helpline. I worked for Vodafone. I worked for an insurance company. I worked for um, a telephone company. I think it wasn't 3, but it was like selling like a range of phones. Um, I worked for an internet provider.
There's a bit of a theme, isn't there?
Yeah,
Shouting out of connection and wanting to connect with somebody
yeah,
and
just
just doing
talking
it
on the
on the
phone.
phone.
Worked for the council. So there was a lot of like, yeah, there was a lot of like talking things. So I talked all day. So I just didn't want to talk when I got home.
Yeah.
I didn't like, and I was sick of the general public because they'd annoyed me all day.
I can imagine. So if your mental health's already really fragile, you're already feeling at the lowest, you've got a job that you kind of need a sunny disposition
Yeah,
to be selling stuff that to other people and you're getting those rejection calls
Of course.
and the phone being slammed down and
I've told you not to call.
yeah.
I said, I've just nearly tripped down the stairs answering this call. Because there was people had landlines back in them days.
Yeah.
Put the phone down. I was like,
And then you're going home again and the cycle just repeats.
yeah.
So how did you get out of the cycle?
There was a time where I realised I was at rock bottom. So I got sacked from my 7th job that year. And I'm back in my hands. I've got no money.
So Natasha Jonas, who's got an MBA, who's an Olympic athlete, has been sacked.
Yeah, for
So
the
there's
7th
hope out there
time.
for people, isn't there?
Yeah, definitely. So I've been sacked for the 7th time that year. And I thought, right, if something in my life doesn't change, then I'm going to be here forever and I'm not going to get out. So I'm going to have to do something. And like by this time, my knee brace is off. So I didn't have an excuse of not to be able to go to the gym. So I thought, right, the only time I was ever like happy, truly happy, was being active and getting out. So let me go back to the gym. So my uncle had a karate gym. And in his gym, it's got like free weights, a running machine, and a bag that you can hit. So I used to just, I phoned him and said, look, can I go and use your gym? I'm feeling a bit down. I've not like done anything. I've put on a load of weight. I've lost loads of confidence. I just want to. Do you want to go? And he's like, oh, do you want me to do a session? I was like, don't. I don't need you to be there. I just want to do it myself. He's like, okay, I'll come with a set of keys tomorrow. So he came with me to my nan's with a set of keys, and I think that's the only time someone's really noticed. So he gave me a set of keys. He's like, I'll let you know what times I'm in. So you don't have to be there when I'm there. So he'd let me know like his weekly schedule. So I'd go there when he wasn't there because I didn't want him to be there. I just wanted to be by myself still. And then after a couple of weeks of going by myself, because it was in a bit of a rough part of Liverpool, there was a lady that used to watch the gym for him. So she knocked over and was like, I've seen you coming in and out of here a few times by yourself. Like, who are you? And I was like, I'm Harris's niece. My name's Tasha. Look, he's given me a set of keys. He just lets me train by myself. She was like, why are you training by yourself? Like, don't you get bored? And I was like, no, not really. I've just put on a bit of weight. I'm just trying to I'm not working at the moment. I'm just trying to, do something to take up the time. She was like, okay, have you ever thought about boxing? And in my head, I'm thinking to myself, oh, shut up, as if I want to get punched in the face. But I didn't tell her that. I was like, oh, no. And she was like, you should come. I've started a women's only class in the local gym, which wasn't too far from where I was. She said, if you've got time, come across, stop training by yourself, come to there's a nice group of girls, I think you'll really enjoy it. So I was like, okay. And then I didn't go. And week after week after week, she'd keep saying like, oh, you didn't go, you sure? Like, you should come. And in the end, I thought, right, just to shut this woman up, I'll go. And that was 20 years ago, and I've never looked back.
Wow. You started going to the gym, you started working out with the group of female boxers. Was it women's only?
So it was just like a keep fit club. And then it soon became apparent that like I was okay and I could punch. And she was like, I think you're good enough to fight, but if you want to fight, you have to go to the actual amateur boxing club. And like I say, I'm 20 at this time. I've been quite high in football, so I know what it takes to be an athlete. So I was like, okay.
But
Like,
did you doubt yourself? Did you think, I can't because of my leg?
no, I never ever doubted it, because by this time I'm in the swing of things, and I think, I think I'm on a high, and then I goes to the boxing gym. The first time I walked in the session, now I'm the first girl that's walked through the door as coming to this all boys session, because there isn't a girls boxing session, because there's never had to be. There's never been a girl that wants to box. So I walk through the door and everyone just goes and looks. And then in our boxing session, the first thing you do is warm up. then after the warm-up, you get into partners, because then you're going to do a bit of skills and a bit of tech, and then you go onto the bags, pads, and the actual workout. So we do the warm-up, and I was like, who's this, who's this, who's this? And then, even though the coaches knew I was coming, and then they say, get into pairs. Now, when they said, as soon as they said, get into pairs, I remember feeling like the little girl. I remember the first time I ever went round the corner to play football with my two cousins, two older boy cousins I had. And the first time I went round, obviously they've been going round the corner for ages playing football, and like, lads always pick the best players and then they pick the best mates. So I was the last one picked because I'd never been round there playing before. Now I knew for 100% I was definitely better than one of my boy cousins. He was terrible. But they picked him before me because he was one of the best mates. And I was fuming. I was raging about it. I was like, there's no way he's going to get picked before me ever again. So in that game of football, I made sure that the lads knew I was good. So I'm playing against lads who I'm maybe like, I'm about 5'6", but I'm playing against lads who are like 8, 9, 10. But I am going on hard on these tackles. I am doing everything to make sure the next time I come around this corner, I'm being picked. I won't be the last one picked. So when the coach says in boxing, okay, everyone pair up, I see all the lads scatter for the best mates, for the good ones that are good. And I thought, oh my God, I feel like that little kid again. That was a first thought. And then again, another like instrumental change was Liam Smith. Now, Liam Smith was, his brother is Paul Smith, Stephen Smith, Callum Smith. So they're like a big family of boxers. And at the time, they were very successful in the Rotunda gym. So they were like one of the in kind of crowds, the popular crowd. And he was like, he must have saw me like kind of like thinking, oh God, this is embarrassing. And he was like, I'll be your partner. And then from that second on, no one was ever bothered about being my partner. And he doesn't realise how that tiny gesture made such a big impact in the gym, because then no one was bothered about being Tasha's partner. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, like, again, like, it is sometimes the tiny little things that you think are insignificant. Like me with my smile, I realise that if I smile, the person smiles back. And if I might be having a bad day and they might be having a bad day, they see me smile and they'll smile back, and that might cheer their day up. So it's the little things sometimes.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there. I went to a conference once and we were talking about, they'd surveyed lots of service users, and they asked us as therapists, what's the number one therapy, the number one treatment, or the number one intervention that all of these service users that have been surveyed have said have made the biggest difference in life? So people were saying CBT, DBT, all of these different fancy things, EMDR, all these acronyms and fancy therapies. The survey results came in and it was sitting down with a therapist and having a cup of tea and a chat. That was it.
Yeah.
So you're right. We can all do that. We're all therapists. We've all
Yeah.
got a kettle. We can all do that. But it's the little things, like you said, it makes a massive difference.
So yeah, it's just all the little things, just and then throughout my life, there's just been all little things that just make a difference. I remember being in America and watching Marion Jones, who was an amazing basketball player and one of the well-respected, well-known basketball players at the time, switch to track and field. And then she became since she's had some medals taken off her because of suspected doping. But at the time, I was thinking, wow, she's gone from being amazing at basketball to being an Olympian and a world champion and an Olympic medalist in the 1 and 200 meters. I was like, wow. And I didn't realize how instrumental that would be later on in my, because at the time I was playing football, but I didn't realize that I was going to change sports eventually. And then all my life, I remember going to, I'd done a podcast a couple of years back, it's a bit more of a spiritual podcast, and they were asking me like about, you know, spiritual things, and I didn't really ever think I was very spiritual, to be fair. And then I was telling her my story about how I looked up, who I looked up to, and watching the Olympics, and she said, "All right, so you manifest things," and I thought, "Wow, you've hit the nail on the head there," because the first time I watched the Olympics, I was 4, and I said to my mum, "I want to be there." Now it took me 24 years and 105 different sports, but I got there in the end. And then, like I said, just said then, I used to watch Mia Hamm and I think, I'm better than her. I can go and do that. I can go and do that. And I ended up in America playing football. Then I was watching Marion Jones thinking, oh my God, it's amazing the way she's done that. Little did I
Done
know,
that.
eventually I'd be doing it. And at each different time, I've looked at someone and I thought, it's amazing. Like Manny Pacquiao now, I absolutely love Tanny Gray Thompson. I love. It's not what, even though they was amazing in their sport, it's the impact that they have outside of the sport.
Yeah.
When Manny Pacquiao fights, the whole of the Philippines shuts down. There's not one crime that happens in the Philippines because everyone's watching him. He built schools, he built hospitals, he built homes. Tanny Gray Thompson, she's now an MP in Parliament for disability,
Yeah.
and she affects and uh, help. She's trying to change the lives of people like her, and I think that is such an amazing power. And and with the programs like this, even though I'm doing it for the for good, it's people like that that affect me that I think, wow, I can do that too. You know, and I believe if you have got a platform and you've got something to say, for a very long time as a girl, a little girl, I had really good things to say, but I didn't think that anyone wanted to listen.
Yeah.
I don't think my mindset or my outlook on life has changed. There's been things that have changed it and maybe changed my approach, but I've always had a certain mindset, and I didn't think that people wanted to hear that. But now that I've got a platform and a stage and a voice, and I'm confident to use it, I realise that people actually do want to listen to what I've got to say, and I try and do that as positively as I can. But it's people like Tiny Great Thompson, like Manny Pacquiao, like Muhammad Ali, who I've I've learnt from and I've looked at and I've watched and I thought, I want to be like yous. And that again, it's just manifesting.
But I think now you've been able to impart that onto young people to think, I want to be like Natasha Jonas. If she can do it, I can do it. Why can't I do it? She got knocked down. Like, and you did get knocked down, not just with your knee, you got knocked down as in on the ring, didn't you? And I guess again, in those moments where you get knocked down, how are you getting back up again? Because you've got back up again and you're getting an MBE and everything else and being in Parliament. But I guess for some people, when they get knocked down, for children particularly, they find they get back up so hard. So how do they get back up? How do you get back up? Because Lauren Price was a bit of a difficult.
Tough, yeah, it's tough to take. It's everyone's different. Everyone's got a different motivation for why they want to be who they are or where they are. Um, and you'll only get knocked down when you're doing that test in the water. When you're trying to reach you're trying to reach your goal and you're trying to reach your limit. So that's not a bad thing. It's just part of the process, and I understand that now.
I guess when you get knocked down, do you feel like I've failed, I've not done it? Because I guess for some young people, when they're knocked down, they think, I can't do this anymore. I'm a failure to my mum and dad, or I'm failed to myself, or I've let that person down. What's it like to be truly sort of in the public eye and being able to recover back from that?
Oh, it's difficult because I'm judged on the 30 minutes that I'm in the ring.
Yeah.
But people don't realise that's a lifetime of work. And people say, oh, you know, your 10-week training camp, how's it gone? Yeah, I've done a training camp for this particular fight for 10 weeks, but I've been actually in the gym since I was 4.
Yeah.
And you're going to judge me on this 30 minutes based on that 10 weeks, not realising that it's been a process since I was 4. And it's in the some of the biggest moments and the biggest occasions of failures have been in the Commonwealth Games. Like, I don't even know what the reach of the Commonwealth Games is. The Olympics, one of the biggest street sporting reaches. And then, obviously, Lauren Price and Obanov before that. So it's tough. It's hard because then throughout these processes, you have doubts and little negative thoughts creep in, and you might see that, you might read that on the internet. Oh, you're brilliant, you're brilliant, you're brilliant, you're rubbish, you're brilliant, you're brilliant. And your human nature is you can't help but focus on the negative. So you scroll back and be like, who said that was rubbish? And during them times, it's like, you're too old, you're not the same boxer, you're not as good as you was, you can't do it anymore. And when you have them moments of failure, you think, or it might be your family saying, nah, that's not for you. Don't try and reach there. Just because they haven't done it, don't try and reach there. You won't be able to do it. None of us has done it. You won't be able to. And then you go and do it and you fail. You think, you know what? Actually, they might be right. They might be right.
Yeah.
That might be too far. I might just have to stay where I'm comfortable. And stay like they are, because they were right. They didn't do it, and they didn't try and do it. But you've just tried and failed, and you think, oh my God, they might be right. But
In that moment when they raise up a hand or you know that you've lost, what does the other fighter do? Does the other fighter, like, does Lauren, for example, come over and be genuinely sympathetic? Or when you've won all the things that you've won, all the matches, do you go over and be like, I'm really sorry, I'm sorry I've won? How? Because there's that aspect of what as well, and there's the
yeah, there's a
when you win.
sportsmanship.
Yeah.
There's a rule, a code of conduct. Like, when people get knocked down and seriously hurt, you don't go jumping about the ring celebrating. You wait to see if they're okay. And then when they're up and or they've been taken, then you can celebrate. Lauren just came and said, like, thanks for the opportunity. The same way I did to the people that I've beaten, thanks for taking the fight. You don't have to take it. Thanks for taking the fight. I appreciate the time in the ring. Sorry for the things that I may have said in the build up. And yeah, there's a respect, because ultimately you've both gone through the same thing.
And is there that thing of thinking, do you know what? I tried my hardest. I did my best. It just wasn't for me on that night. They did their best. They tried their hardest and they won that time. Doesn't have to be Lauren, but all the way through.
No, there's the way I could live with my sporting career is that I believe at every given time that I've been tested, I give 100%. And even when I lost to Katie and I come out of the ring and I cried for 2 days, like, I look back at that now with fond memories, because I know in that moment, in that time, there was nothing else I could have give. And I can live with that, because you can't do better than your best.
Yeah.
And it's okay. If that's your best, that's okay. But if you know it wasn't, then that'll niggle. That'll niggle at you, like, actually, that was only 95. Maybe add another 5%. And in sports, we talk about this 1%, and it's only tiny little things, but it's 1%. And you think, did I put everything in that session? Did I, And you have to, if you don't believe that you did, you have to live with that at the end when it's all over and said and done. And you think, I didn't. And
So
you'll know it. Only you'll know.
I guess the art of reflection and looking back and being able to take a moment, not just in boxing when you've got knocked down, but in life challenges, and taking time at the end of the day to think, what's gone well today? What's been difficult? How am I gonna overcome it? What's
Just
my
reassess.
action plan?
Yeah, reassess.
Yeah.
Reassess and go again. If it's not that route, it'll be somewhere else. If it is that route, then what went well, what went wrong? What can I do better? How can I change how can I change it? How do I apply it and go again?
And do you think it's difficult sometimes with being Miss GB in the ring and you've just lost in the ring to then come out of the ring and be Natasha again? Is it harder when it's a loss to switch back into being Natasha or no?
No, I don't think it's harder, but I think some of the like it's just a thing of switching back anyway. I think one of the biggest things that I noticed is when I had my little girl is that the switch off was welcomed. When I before she was born and when I was in the amateurs, it was all about the result. And that's the only thing that mattered. And if I had a bad spar, if I weren't selected to go to a tournament, if I'd lost in a tournament, it had wrecked the whole time until the next one. And I'd come home and I'd be in a mood and I couldn't get myself out of it because it was all about the the result. And the result now still matters as Miss GB. It still matters. But when I go home, she doesn't need Miss GB. She doesn't even need any of Miss GB's attributes. She doesn't need the selfish. She doesn't need like, you know, the dedication, the motivation. She doesn't need that. She just needs mum. She needs love, like
And I guess you
hugs.
need that though as well. So you, especially when you've been knocked down, that actually when you come out of the ring, it doesn't matter that you've just been knocked down in one sense because your whole world stood there waiting for you and she needs you right now in mum mode to plait her hair, get ready, go on a day trip, make a packed lunch, do all of the mum things again.
Yeah, half the time she comes and gives me a little hug, or there's always something that she sends me before. So sometimes it might be a little voice note or a video, or she's drew me a couple of things and I'll take that in, and then when I come out, that's what I've got, and then she'll like I remember when I had a really bad cut on my eye, and my eye was massive, and I'd like put like sunglasses on because they wanted to see it. They didn't want us to see me like
Yeah.
that. And she was like, "Mummy, can I see?" And I was umming and ahhing with myself. And then eventually I lift up my glasses. And she'd done what I'd do to her, which was kiss it better.
Oh.
And it was like, it's them little tender moments that I think, right, that's mum, that's mum, that's family time. Do you know what I mean?
I love that though. I love the idea because I know in therapy we do a lot with young people about memory boxes and memory banking, and that again, it's not about going on a massive day trip, going to Japan, going on this and
Yeah.
that. Actually, it's those small, again, small moments that make the biggest difference.
I actually, because I do lots of psychology stuff and whatever on my phone, obviously the algorithms send you stuff that you look at and you're interested in. So one of the things that Instagram was sending me was loads of psychology things, and it was like things to ask your kids. So one of the things was to ask your kid about their best day. Now, bearing in mind that my little girl has been literally most places I've been in the world, she's been with me. So she's very well. I didn't go on holiday till I was 12. I didn't go out the country till I was 12. She's very well travelled for a kid. Um, so one of the things was, when was your best time with me? When was the what was the best day you had with me? So I'm thinking, you know, Japan, is it Australia? Is it Spain? Is it, you know, all at Lapland? Is it anywhere in the world that we've been? And she told me about a time that it was just me and her watching a movie on the couch. And I was thinking, wow, one, I could have saved myself a whole heap of money. But two, you know, it's them little intricate moments, and it's not
It
about
is.
being big and being flash and, you know, staying in 4 5 star hotels, which I thought she'd remember,
It's the
or
little
which
thing.
it's the tiny little things of just me hugging her on the couch, laying next to her, watching a film, watching whatever Disney film it was.
Have you ever done a yes day with her?
Oh, please.
Have you seen the film
I can see her shaking her head.
Yes Day?
Yeah, I haven't,
I feel like
but we
at
need a
least
yes
one
day.
thing that I'm going to impart on you today
Okay, we'll
is
do
that
it.
you need to do a yes day.
I will
You've seen
commit. to one yes day for this
Brilliant.
summer holiday.
You put some parameters around it,
Yeah,
but yes day. Mila's over in the corner right now,
yeah,
excited that she's having a yes day. See the film, Mila.
yeah.
Watch
I
the film.
think used to it in cahoots, working
Absolutely.
together.
But because the reason that I say that is for some of the young people that we work with, we talk about in residential homes about the carers just for one day. Obviously, there's lots of restrictions
Yeah,
that we put on, and we talk about what are the things that are yes, because the power of a yes over the power of no is massive,
yeah, yeah.
and it's about making those memories. So yes, day, and I guess there's the nervousness, particularly in the residential homes of they're going to ask for some
Yeah,
wild
yeah.
things.
I'm already sweating now.
I'm gonna give you an
Hands are sweating.
example. I'll give you an example of the bar that was set with a yes day. So just see, so this is a yes day in a residential home. It was, can I go and have a jam sandwich on a picnic bench in a park, listening to the birds and the rain when it's throwing it down? That was a yes day. Can I
Okay.
make a sundae, a smoothie, and can I put whatever I want in at all? What did they put in it? Jam roly-poly sponge and custard and ice cream.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So we're not talking
That's
massive
either going to
things.
be absolutely amazing or absolutely horrific.
I quite liked it.
Yeah,
I didn't mind it. But I think there's that thing of you always have to do something massive. You know, you always have to become a world boxer or a world and it isn't. It is the little things and it's about fun things but making special memories.
So is it just one thing that you have to say yes to, or
No,
is it a whole day?
a full day from the moment she wakes up, and that can be at whatever time she wants to wake up, that you say yes. But there has to be, obviously, it can't be any illegal activities.
Okay. What other
Um,
parameters do you have?
yeah, you can put a budget on
Okay.
it as well, just because obviously not everybody maybe has millions of pounds.
I'm still working on my million.
And it finishes at midnight.
Okay.
I'll be excited. You need to keep me updated on
I
what
will.
the yes day is.
I'll commit to that.
Yeah,
I'll commit to that.
and take loads of photos.
I will.
That'd be amazing. I didn't know. Is that you've got quite a sporty family as well. So sport is a big feature. So when sport was taken away from you, were some of your other relatives getting into sport, doing sport, starting out their journey in sport as well?
Yeah, I think literally everyone in our family does some kind of physical activity. If you don't, you're like the black sheep. Um, like from my mum's generation down, everyone is involved in sport. So there was my sister was getting into her little journey of football as well, and I used to go and watch her play, and everyone would be like, "Oh, you're so much like your Tasha, you know, your tenacity, your attitude," and like I was proud of that, but at the same time, I
You
hurt.
struggled, yeah.
And from the reverse side of that, she sometimes says it was hard to. I was always trying to fill your boots, if you know what I mean. She was
Yeah.
always, everyone was like, "You're so much like Tasha, you're so much like Tasha." So she was always trying to not be like me. She was a lot better than me in football, but she had like a boots to fill as well. So she felt the pressure from a different angle, where I was like thinking, "Oh, I wish I could be there." And she's, you know, she's getting in the Everton team, and you know, women's football is on its way to being something amazing.
Oh, yeah.
It's not what it is now, but it's growing, and it's like, so I'm watching her come through and thinking so many opportunities for her now. I wish I was her age. And
Yeah.
I definitely wasn't resentful, but it hurt.
But I think I can imagine at the time that must have been difficult though as well, sort of being so alone and struggling to reach out to your family who probably didn't know what to say to you because they'd never had anyone sort of like you said, go to university, get as far as you had, for then everything to sort of fall back down. It's that taboo subject of how do you talk to somebody
Yeah.
that's struggling with their mental health? And I think because society now is so fast, that no one seems to ever have time. And I remember there was a campaign, I don't know if you ever saw it, that was filmed in a boxing ring and it was about men's mental health and it was about who's in your corner,
Yeah.
about your friends. And, you know, do you take a moment to take a step back to think, that looks a little out of character for Tasha. That's,
Yeah, yeah.
is she okay? Is she smiling? Why is she smiling? Because she's got nothing right now to be smiling about. But because of time and pressure, people don't do that, or people think, it's not my job, it's not my role, I don't want to get involved. I think people really struggle, and I think you see it more today with kids, don't you? That labels get thrown around, and we're losing the sense of the young person in the middle of things. We're losing that people are individuals. They're not just got autism. They've not just got ADHD. They're not just a naughty kid. Actually, it's about who actually are they, because a lot of the things that are going on, you have to conform and you have to fit at the minute into school, and sitting down for 8 hours, and the way that schools run, and the way that after school clubs run, there's not much funding for certain projects and things, and we're losing a little bit about the person in the middle.
Yeah, I think as well what I struggled with is that I was always so in my mum's generation, like everyone's got a role. Like
Yeah,
and my uncle um is a fixer. He's the fixer. Now, in my generation, I'm the fixer, and people come to me to fix their problems, and there's like or like if there's an issue, I people know that I will always tell the truth, or I like I listen to both sides and I will give my opinion. And my opinion, I'm not saying my opinion's gospel, but I will always give a fair assessment back to both sides. So I think even it was hard for my family to approach the situation because I was supposed to be the fixer, and the
yeah,
fixer was broke. So they didn't know how to approach. When I speak to them now, they didn't. They may have seen that things were out of character, but they didn't know how to approach it because that's not what they ever approached me for. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, I do.
So it was like, and I and it because I'd masked from when I was a kid. I'd masked, you know, I was an expert in masking. So they'd be like, "Oh, you're okay?" I'd be like, "Of course I'm okay. I'm stupid. Like I'm okay. I'm okay. I'm okay."
Yeah,
And so they was like, "Well, okay. Well, they didn't want to push it because I didn't want to talk about it, and I didn't want to. I didn't want to go into further detail, or I didn't. I just didn't want to be open with them. So there's only so much they'll say, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I'm saying, "Stop asking me, am I okay? Stop doing it," until they say, "Okay, this is making this is worse. This is being detrimental. This is not even helping because now she has got a back up, and she
yeah,
won't let it out if we keep on asking her if she's okay." So I think they was in a position where I, I think mental health, even though it's still a massive taboo, but it's a lot more open now. People it's a lot more. People know there's plans for people on how to deal with it, but this is 20 years ago.
yeah,
There wasn't a plan of how to deal with it. There wasn't as many labels for it. There wasn't all these groups and societies and things. It was just like your family saying, "Are you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. Okay." So
but I think even now as well, you were talking about something before we started, weren't you? And it's kind of, unless you're in the world of mental health a little bit, it's still, if someone approaches you and says, I'm really struggling, or you look at someone and you're like, something is not okay because you've been an expert by experience because of what's happened to you, you can pick out that something's wrong. Where do you go with that?
yeah,
Like you were talking about earlier about being a fixer again, of, calling, like, I know who to call, I know who to ring for help, but other people around them wouldn't know
yeah,
how to do that, who to call. And I guess that's something as well, I think, in your project that you've been doing, you've been looking at, for the kids to think about who's in their corner. So is it a coach? Is it family? For some of the young people that we support in children's residential homes, for example, the family aspect is quite difficult
hmm
because of what's happened. So it's who else is there that they can call on, to open up, to share things with, to talk about the difficult times, but to celebrate successes, no matter, I guess, how small or how big.
And I didn't want it to be one of these programs where I remember in school, like every like in the year, some or every if we had a thing in school where a girl almost died from alcohol poisoning. So
Wow.
then a company came in and gave us this big amazing play about the dangers of drinking on the street. But then they went away, and then within like 6 months, the people started doing it again. So I never wanted it to be a program where you just come in for that little tokenistic moment and be like, "Hi, I'm Natasha, and this is my story, and this is how brilliant you can be, and go and be brilliant," and you never see me again. That's not what I wanted it to be, because that's not the that's not I understand that not everybody has people in the corner, and I'm not saying that I can be there for every kid that I interact with, but I do want to let them know that this is not just a one-off relationship. Like one of the young males who've joined the boxing club, I'm gonna go to his boxing session. I'm gonna go to
Wow.
one of the other lads' football sessions. So it's not just a thing of where I've just come and give you this great program and been there for a day and you're never gonna see me again. Hopefully that one day is gonna inspire you for the rest of your life. That's not how it works. It's gonna be interactive where I am gonna come back, and like I say, that doesn't mean to say that I can go to every single kid's, every single thing they want me to do or go to. But hopefully these kids see me as someone in their corner.
But I think that's probably as well changed a little bit since you've had your daughter, and you think about her, and if she was in their shoes or if she was struggling, you'd want somebody, if you weren't available, to notice the difference, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I'd like to think we have that relationship where I could spot the signs. And there's times like any mum that we're at war, but
Yeah.
then there's times when I see the vulnerabilities and she sees the vulnerabilities in me. Kids are the best body language experts I believe in the world. So we have them moments where, okay, let's stop the stress and let's tear away, like I needed, let's tear away the masks, and okay, what is the problem? How can I help? What can we do to fix it? What can mum do to help you? Because to her, I am mum. I'm not Tasha Jonas. I'm not MBE. I'm not, two-time world champion. I'm not none of that stuff. I'm just
Yeah.
mum. So you know, I'm not Miss GB to her. I'm just mum. So I have to, and it's mum is a role that you're constantly learning, and your perspective changes from kid to an adult to a parent, because now I understand as a mum that when I was looking to my mum, I expected her to have all the answers and to know everything. And now as a mum, I realise that I'm probably 25 with 16 years experience. So I haven't really grew up, but she looks at me as if I'm going to know all the answers, and I don't. So, but we have to work with it together to try and figure out the best thing for everyone, if that makes sense.
No, it does. And I think that's why, as well, you're doing some of these projects that you're doing within schools, within children's homes, because I know you did a little job before you got sacked or anything. It wasn't on your sack list then, of being a youth worker, and the importance of embedding some of these key skills and experiences for children, because not everybody has the same opportunities, do they, in life? Not everybody's got a mum,
Yeah.
especially a mum that's listening and understanding and that can see the masks. I think you're great at the mask wearing and the mask seeing, because you've done it all your life.
Yeah.
You've done the masks with Miss GB as well, because you've talked to me a little bit before about that. Of you're quite fierce and in
Alter
the
ego.
zone, aren't you?
Yeah.
Completely different. Whereas when I meet you, you're just the nicest, most laid back, relaxed, down to earth person ever. But if I met you in a ring, I think I'd be quivering before I even turned around.
But yeah, that's the disguise. It's all
Yeah.
the alter ego. It's all the bravado of I can be somebody else. That's in sport. It didn't matter what I look like, who I was, where I came from, where I was born, what sex I was, it didn't matter. All that mattered is about your performance. And that, for me, was perfect because I could be who I wanted to be. I could create who I wanted to be. And boxing, football, whichever sport it was, it made me, it allowed me to create this person that it was a total different person to the actual person I felt or that I was.
What what advice would you give yourself if you looked back now to the deepest, darkest sort of moment in your life, if you could, and you could quickly fix how you were in that moment where you felt so alone, the knee brace was on, everything was over? What advice would you give yourself back then?
Honestly, I don't think I'd change a thing because everything that I've been through, the good, the bad, the ugly, the tears, the blood, sweat, has made me the person I am now. And I'm still growing and evolving and adapting and now. But without them hardships, I wouldn't be here now. So they've made me the person. Your life experiences, and you can either go with it or you can go against it. And there's certain things that have happened that has done well that I thought, right, I'm going to run with. I'm going to roll with that. But then there's certain things that I've seen or experienced that I thought, I don't want to be like that. Or, I'm not going to, that's not me. So I'm not going to do that. So them things, all in all, I've made this person right now. So I wouldn't change the things. And you have to experience them things to realise, to get to that point to say, okay, I do want to go with that, or I don't want to be like that. So I wouldn't change a thing.
And I think that's why you've done We Are Champions, and the two main topics are growth and resilience. That's why you've focused it, I think, on that, because you're saying it's not about changing what's happening, it's about holding on to that ride, to that journey, go with it. You can get through it, you can accomplish anything because you've gone from the bottom to the top. I don't think, is there any further you can go right now?
Potentially. We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see. There's always, once you've reached the level that you kind of realise that, well, that's not your ceiling. If you've reached it, it's not your ceiling, is it? So then set the bar a bit higher. And it doesn't necessarily always have to be in sport. Now I am venturing out to do other things that I think, okay, well, maybe that's as far as I've gone in sport and I've reached my ceiling in that. But then there's other things that I haven't reached the ceiling in. I never knew that I could do all this other stuff and be an entrepreneur and be a member of parliament and be, a spokesperson for different groups and have an impact on people's life. I never knew that I could do that, but we'll see where it goes.
And most importantly, that you could do 24 seconds on the Hula for Happiness challenge.
You just don't know your limitations until you do it.
But I think you've picked it. I think that's really important what you've talked about there, because when we're talking about growth, it's not about you growing even further as a boxer. There's so much more that you're going to grow into, and you've just talked about all those different areas. I mean, also there's the growth that one day you might be a nana.
Hopefully.
Nana Jonas.
Not too soon.
Not too soon.
Not too soon.
Not too soon. Yeah. Fingers crossed. But no, I think that's important for young people to think, you don't have to be the best at something. It's about trying different opportunities, growing in different areas. And that actually, to say that you really struggled with English and maths, look at you now with you being a member of parliament. I'm sure you're going to have to use some English and maths in there.
Do you know what? I probably read more books now. Like, if you've seen, like, I've got a little, it sounds mad, but a little library behind my bed, and it's all of stuff. You just have to find the thing for you. That's what I realised.
I think you were telling me that you were reading mindfulness, weren't you reading
I love psychology books because, again, they help me discover things about me that work for in my sport, but also in life. Because some of them I apply to my little girl. I think, okay, I try to. I think, okay, well, we'll see this. And I've even asked you for some, worksheets and stuff about how I'm going to help with different things that we're going through at the minute. So I think, again, yeah, you've just got to find that thing that interests you. And there's nobody in the world that hasn't got a thing that they're interested in. And I genuinely do believe there's an activity out there for everyone.
And this relates to the topic that I spoke to you about in the boxing gym. That when we were talking about what's next, I suggested you could become an occupational therapist. I said, never mind psychologist. Why don't you be an occupational therapist? Because occupational therapists, obviously, what I do, is put the do into doing. And you've just promoted to me now about activity and engagement. My dreams are now complete that you've just mentioned that.
That yes, I'm not putting barriers up to
Yeah.
myself,
Yep.
but I do know that you have to go to university to do that.
Absolutely. But I can help you through that.
Okay.
I will mentor you through that.
Are we setting this goal?
Let's do it. Can you imagine Natasha Jonas is an occupational therapist? Telling you, it's the way forward. Think of how many lives that you could touch doing that as well. You'll be able to sit here and do podcasts like
Yeah.
this with the next generation.
Yeah, with my little sky voice.
Absolutely. I guess what we wanted to also just sort of touch on as well is the idea that we're setting up We Are Champions, but that's not the end of things, because from We Are Champions we're looking at ways to embed other mental health support for young people, so that when we've been doing some of the photo shoots recently, we've been talking about self-esteem and building confidence, and that it doesn't mean that a 12-week program that you've designed is the end. It's about, there's going to be lots of other opportunities. I know you've been doing some work on some of the other projects as well, that are on your Instagram. I've seen those. And I think it's about you're trying to show that it's not just one thing, one service, one aspect that will help a young person achieve their dreams or move forward. It's about that idea that put yourself out there, connect with lots of people, use what's available. Don't just stick to what you know. Sometimes the scary is quite difficult, but it's taking that leap, I think, because I think young people need to think that it's not just staying in the home, being online, doing gaming, not being influenced all the time by social media. It's about doing and staying and being true to you.
The only way you'll grow out of the circle is by testing the water outside. I'm like a strong believer in taking whatever opportunities come your way. And like with America, it didn't work out. But I'd rather be sitting here now saying, well, I tried it and it didn't work out, than what if? What if I would have done that? What if I would have went there? So spread yourself in the best way, as widely as you can, in every direction that you can. And if it's scary, it's probably the right move, because staying where you are is just comfortable. But if you want to be your best, then you have to test your comfort zone, and the only way to do that is by stepping outside of it.
And I think that's right, because you only get one chance in life. You could have stayed in Liverpool. You could have stayed in Toxteth. Is that what it's called?
Toxteth.
Instead, you were telling me earlier you've been to like Japan, America. You've travelled the world, and you've seen so much, and you've done so much, and you've not just stayed still. And I think too many people now stay still, and a lot of the staying still, unfortunately, is because of things like setting your bedroom up with the gaming, being linked up to your phone, and young people are losing the connection, the physical connection, through teams, through sports, through activities, through socializing, through trying out all these wonderful places. We were talking about roller coasters before. I think you have to be a little bit crazy to be doing that, but anyway. But yeah, I think it's about just going out there and putting yourself through a challenge every day, challenging yourself. And that's what your 12-week program's about. It's about setting challenges, setting goals. They don't have to be becoming a world champion boxer, but having a daily challenge of something new.
Little things every day that test you. I'm not trying to be better than you or anybody else. I'm just trying to be better than me yesterday.
Amazing.
And I think, just keep pushing yourself and keep on trying.
Absolutely. I'm going to say thank you. Thank you for coming in. I'm going to thank you for coming in. I'm going to thank you for bringing your daughter as well, because she lights up a room.
No.
when she comes, and she's got some great skills, and she's going to be the next person that's going to be sat in the podcast chair, I'm sure.
Who, a horse rider or a track athlete?
Gymnastics. Well, gymnastics, I
athletics,
saw
yeah.
it. Yeah, she was doing all the cartwheels when I last saw her. So thank you so much on behalf of Be Mindful. So look forward to our other podcasts that we're going to be doing. I don't know what they are yet.
Okay.
We'll see what they
Have
are.
you got any more tests for me? Hulas? Or anything else?
I know that Clark Carlisle has got his hula hoops and he's practicing his hula
You
challenge.
can't have months to practice. I'm not having that.
He's having a bit of practice. Yeah. Yeah, he's needing a bit more practice. I think 2 seconds is as long as he's got so far.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you can have a month.
You've set the bar high. So we've been Be Mindful. This is Natasha Jonas, and I am Geordie Hurst, Head of Occupational Therapy. Remember, guys, be mindful.